Hello viewers, welcome to CodeForAny Medicare App Backend's API Node.js. Inside today I need to develop here the two API. First one is the edits ads. Inside we need to cover edit image as well as to edit this here the start date and date. And then another API I need to develop for the removing ads in this list. Need to call this delete API. Need to create, and this here API develop inside the X URL form encode data inside to developing here, and edit API form data inside into develop. Let's start. First of all, need to making here the edit API into develop here. If you not see here the yesterday video how to add multi-parts API need to create inside the Node.js, need to again explain in details. Now need to write down here the post methods app.post, and we need to call this here the slash API slash admin slash edit add, and now need to get this here the request and response, two parameters callback functions. Now need to declare here the form variables need to declare where new multi-party dot form methods we need to call here. This is the form parser we need to use. Need to form dot parse methods need to call. So need to give this here the request and to return this here the errors. Request object. Then after need to get this here the files. Like here's this callback need to get here. After need to get here the check here if error, and we need to call this here the helper dot throw HTML errors. Need to write down here the errors, and we need to set this here the response and terminate this here the function calls. And now is the not gets any errors, then to check this here these access tokens are valid for this user types, need to check here the request dot headers. Then after need to pass this here the response object and to return if valid. Then to user objects we need to get here the returns and this callback methods. And also need to check here the required is types is admins, like this check here. Set here the pi means here the admin types these access tokens, like this checking if valid. Then to get this here the user object callback we need to returning here. So otherwise need to directly unauthorized, need to show API inside. Now we need to check here the needed parameters. We need to check here. First of all, we need to write down here the helper dot check parameter valid. Need to pass this here the response object, request object, and we need to give this here the needs add ID for the edits. Then after the start date underscore date and end date underscore date. These parameters are the needs for these functions. If valid, then we need to get here the years. Now we need to go inside here the API, and we need to need this here the add. We need to find out here this value are needs. We need to go here, declares here. First of all, we need to set here update set value, set here condition blank, and also need to give this here the file name, set here blank, like here. Now need to check here the if conditions files dot image, need to get this here, then need to cover this process here and remove this here the where keywords because need to assign this value here. If you get, then also need to write down here the update set value is equal to, need to call this here the brackets, need to write down here the image key, and need to pass here the single quotes against double plus and single quotes, give this here space, and now need to give this here the file name. Like here sets for the update conditions we need to put here. Now we need to find out here the rename this file codes, we need to copy here and we need to paste this here like here semicolons and save these files and this path locations inside the save, and not write down here the outside of these conditions because we need to here writing here the calls if you get files then updates, we need to without any risks we need to use this here the outside of these conditions db dot query, and we need to call this here the update query, we need to open this here the database and select here the add detail tables here, and to call this here the update api, remove here add id, need to cut here and to put this here, and conditions we need to set here first of all the question mark and status, set here the question mark. Now past here the image already here, need to set here, also need to remove this here status created dates, remove here like here, and to give this here the query as write down here that now for the updates cut this query here, and we need to paste this query here and set here the question mark, also here update like here. Now break this here the query here double plus plus and to give this here the these conditions here for the if any gets into the image, and to put this here the conditions and to apply this here the column names and value need to put inside these conditions. Now need to write down here, give this here the request object dot start date and zero object value, same as request object dot end of date like here, and last one is value request object dot add id, add underscore id, set here the zero value, and we need to give this here the 2 is not equal to deleted, then to call like this. Yes, and also make sure you need to go api maybe make mistake here, forget here multi parts inside, we need to fix this here, otherwise not working. Now need to save here. Now after we need to get this here the result errors and results value inside the callback function like this. Now if gets any errors, then to returning this here the results and to remove here the response objects if get any errors. Now need to write down here results affected row more than 0, and to successfully update this image we need to call here, need to set here the response dot json, and need to call this here status, set here 1, set here the payload gets here the image, set here the file name here, and also need to set here the message updates add successfully, like here the message again, so need to copy paste this here, and if not here the more than 0, then to false message need to print here, add updates else like here, and we need to save this here, and this is the api creatings for the edits ads. Now we need to done this api. Now another api we need to develop for the delete these ads, we need to call here app.post create here slash API slash admin slash delete add, and we need to get this here the request and response, like here call. Need to write down here the helper dot dlogs request dot body we need to show here, and also need to write down here where request object is equal to request dot body. Inside we need to save these variables inside. Now need to check here the access tokens is valid or not. Request dot headers need to pass here, and response objects need to give if valid, then to return this here the callbacks for the user data need to get here, and required tabs need to set this here the pi as a admin access need to check here. Now check here the helper dot check parameters valid, request, response, and we need to set here the request object. Then after need to write down here the key names. We need to set this here the add id. Need to needs here adds id for the required parameters. If here valid, then to get this here the callback, so need to return here. Otherwise need to directly false response need to get here. Now need to write down here the db query to swap delete, need to call here, need to call this here the update adds detail tables, and we need to set this here the set query and update here the status 1 to 2 like here, and modify date, modify underscore date, set here the now, and where conditions need to set here add underscore id question mark, and we need to set here the status not equal to question mark like here, set here. This is the query. Now need to give this here the value. I have set here the 2 and 2 status. First 2 is the delete and second is not deleted records. Then to update this as the status. Like here the updating for the deletes methods need to call here. Then after these functions are the returns here the 2 parameters, errors and result. And we need to call this here this callback. Need to write down here if error, then need to call this here the error dot throw HTML errors. Need to set here the errors response and return this here. Then after we need to check here if result affected row more than 0, else, and we need to set this here the JSON status 1, and into message we need to write down here adds deleted successfully like here, and again we need to copy this message and to paste this here. Now need to fail message need to write down here add delete fail, and we need to save this here. And this is the creating here the deletes adds API we need to done here. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you're new user, so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon. You can get every new video notifications and awesome content. If you have any question, so please write down the comment sections. I will help you and sort out your issue. Everyone have a nice day. Goodbye and take care.